Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about circle basics today. Some of these words you've heard before, some of them you may not have. Circles is kind of its own world, so there's some things that we use that you normally aren't aware of. The learning target, I can identify the various parts of circles and describe the relationships among tangents and radii, which is the plural version of radius of a circle. I can use arcs, chords, and diameters of a circle to solve problems. So there's a few things here. Let me go to the right one. All right, here we go. Too many PowerPoints. All right. So some vocabulary. Anytime we name a circle, we're going to name it by its center. So in this case, the center is the dot C. So the center is C, so we call this circle C. That helps us identify which circles we're going to be using. Of course, the radius, and you might have to pause this video as we go through so you can type it in. I probably won't pause as much, and you can just pause it and type those things in. The radius, the official definition, and we've used this word quite a bit already this year. The radius is segment with one endpoint at the center and one endpoint on the circle, which is half of the diameter. Diameter is a segment that goes through the center with both endpoints on the circle, all the way through. Okay. Now, chord is a segment with endpoints on the circle. So it doesn't go through the center, but as long as the endpoints go through the circle or end on the circle, that's called a chord. Now, these two things are very similar, chord and secant. Okay, notice it looks like it's the same line, but a chord ends on the circle. A secant, however, is a line that intersects the segment at 2 points. And then the last one, tangent. A tangent line is a line or segment that touches the circle at 1 point. So a secant touches the segment at 2, a tangent touches it at 1, and then the chord has 2 endpoints. So these are a couple of things that we're going to be using quite a bit. Okay, so we're going to use some of these words to look at some of these different things. So right here, we're looking at JF. So it starts at the center and ends on the circle. So we call this a radius. Okay, the next thing, we just have a single point J. Remember, this is the center. This is how we name the circle. Then we have line DG, and notice it's going through that center, so this is the diameter. XM, it touches the circle once, so this is a tangent. Now, point X, it's just a point. It's not the center of the circle, so it's not, it's not right in the middle. This is something we call the point of tangency. So that's where the tangent line touches the circle. We call that the point of tangency. All right, JG. That's another radius. Now, there's a big difference between this AC with the arrows on it and this AC that's just a line segment. Since this goes all the way through and never ends, we're going to call this one a secant. So that's the difference between the two. They look the same, but this one goes on forever. This one ends. JD, again, is another radius. And then AC ends at the points. That is a chord. So some of these are very easily to get confused. It just depends on the symbol being used or where it's located. Okay, so still looking at the same process here, but we're going to go the opposite way instead of giving you the actual name. So name the center. The center of this circle is B. Name all radii. So we're looking for a radius. Look at how many things start at the center and end at the circle, on the circle. So I have BD, I have BC, and I have BA. So there are 3 of them. Name the diameter. That goes all the way across. AC. Now, this is plural. Name all chords. Remember, chords is a line that has endpoints on the circle. Okay? Most people get one of them very easy. It's just YC. Name the tangent line. That's where it touches it once. EC. All right, name the secant. If you can find the chord and it extends out, then that's also going to be a secant. So it's also YC. Name the point of tangency. So where does it touch the circle? Where does that tangent line touch the circle? At point C. So remember, we've been talking about this all year. If it says point, we're just going for one letter. If we're talking about lines or line segments, we're talking about 2 letters, okay? 2 points. And the last question is BD equal to BC? Yes, they are both a radius. So they have to be the same. And they're also equal to BA. Okay. Now we're going to talk about arcs. We talked about lines that are touching. Now we're going to talk about these arcs that are on the outside of the circle. So an arc is a part of the circumference of a circle. So it has to be on that curve. Now, there are 3 different types. There's a minor arc that is less than 180 degrees, and we name them with 2 letters. So anytime you see an arc described by 2 letters, and I'll show you that here in a bit, it's a minor arc, and the measurement is going to be less than 80 degrees. So a major arc is an arc that is more than 80 degrees, and it's named with 3 letters. So if I said AC and just left it at that, we don't assume it goes all the way around. We follow the shortest path. So that would be a minor arc. But if I say ABC, then you have to follow that path all the way around, and you know it's going to be a major arc because we use 3 letters to name it. And then the last one is a semicircle. which is just half a circle, an arc that is exactly 180 degrees. Okay, so we're going to find the measure of each arc and classify it as minor, major, or semicircle. So some of these we're going to be able to classify. All of them, we should be able to classify them relatively easy just by looking at how many letters are in the name. So D, F, B. Well, I believe there's a mistake on that. It probably should say D, F, E. So if you're watching this, it probably should say D, F, E, go all the way around. That's an error that we're going to have to fix. So if we were saying D, F, E, that's a semicircle because it is half of a circle. E, F. Now we know a semicircle is 180. Let me change this over. So we know this whole way around is 180. We know this small part is 60 degrees. So what is EF? Well, 180 minus 60 is 120. And because we only use 2 letters, this has to be a minor arc. Now I'm going the opposite way. DAE, again, this is 180, so it's a semicircle. And we're going to do the same process with DA. I know AE is 45. I know the whole thing here is 180. So when I subtract that, D to A is 135. It's less than 180, and we're using 2 letters to name it. So this is a minor arc. F, B, A. So I know this is 120. I know this is 45. So, not to throw a curveball at you, but this is 120 plus 45. So can I just name this F, A? But this is a minor arc. And then F, D, E. This is 60. This is 180. So I get 240. This is a major arc. So we have one more slide. So I'm looking at the measure of NW. It says refer to the circle E for questions 1 through 8. NL is the diameter. Determine whether each arc is a minor, major, or semicircle. Then find the degree measure. So NW is a minor, and it's 22 degrees. Okay. KNL. Now this is 90. Okay, so we're looking at everything left over, and all the way around the circle is 360. So if I take 360 minus 90, it gives me 270, and this is a major arc. KL, we just talked about it. It's 90, so it's a minor arc. We know NL is the diameter, so NKL all the way around is a semicircle, which is 180 degrees. Now KW, if this is 90 and this whole thing is 180, then what does this portion have to be? It has to be 90. This smaller portion is 22, so when you add those together, you get 112. Let me change that. That is actually a minor. Go ahead and fix that. KLW. So this whole section here from K all the way around to N is 270. And so if I subtract this smaller portion, 22, that gives me 248 degrees from K, L to W. So this is a major arc. And then I'm going to go the other way, LKW. This is 180 plus 22, that's 202. So this is a major arc. And the last one, NKW, all the way around, 360 minus 22 is 338 degrees. This is a major arc. So I'm able to do all this just from one little section that's being given to me. I also know this is diameter. I see this 90 degrees. So there are so many different arcs you can find. Okay. So this is just circle basics. We'll continue to go deeper into each part of this. We'll look at lines and how they work, and then we'll look at arcs and look at some deeper angles involving those. So now you can work on your homework. We'll continue to work on the next section in the next class.